The name of my new work is Solo for Two, and it's the second in a trilogy of solos that I've been developing parallel to my company work, exploring the question of identity. And it is a solo, but it's a solo made for two people. And I wanted to play with this convention of solo work, and also because I think identity is always formed in relation to someone else's, and the moment I meet someone else is when I really fully understand my own identities. I've chosen to work in this project with the Belgian dramaturg Guy Koels, someone that I know for many years. I'm very excited to bring in my creative process, primarily because of his huge knowledge in contemporary dance and performance.
And Jean and me, we've known each other for more than 10 years, and this is the second production I will work on with him as a dramaturg. As a dramaturg, I always have to follow the choreographer, so it's he who brings the themes to the table. And in this case, it was the notions of origin and loss, and like origin not as a fixed point, but as a kind of point of departure that is kind of constantly changing. And loss also not as a negative thing, but as something that you need to let go of things in order to develop yourself as a human being. It's a solo, but for two. There's also this notion that, again, your own identity is only developed in dialogue with other people. Jean also wants to always use these solo projects to develop himself as an artist. So also he looks for people to dialogue with. There was one other dancer in the studio, and together they translated the ideas and the motives that we were researching into. And as I said, like for instance, peeling off yourself from the floor, falling, the notion of constantly new beginnings, are some of the motives that already have developed choreographic and physical form in this stage. I mean, one of the sources of inspiration is this book, which is by Clarice Lispector, a Brazilian author. And it's especially the beginning of the book, which talks about that there's no origin and that there's no beginning. So that was kind of a catchphrase. And we're using that text also to develop physical material, and eventually some of the text might also be in the piece. And then we've also been improvising with more autobiographical material. This notion of traveling and going, like being on a journey, and going on different stages, like Jean, having lived 20 years in Brazil, 20 years in the UK. So the different places and the different times, we've been kind of mapping them in the studio. I really developed an interest in artists who place themselves in between dance cultures and who like bridge different cultures. Is the case in Jean's, because he these different influences also in his physicality like that. And then hopefully next year we'll actually produce the piece, premiere it and tour it, and hopefully both in UK and Brazil, because it is very much about Jean's identity in between these two countries and these two cultures, and how the moving from one to the other and back has formed himself as an artist. So I do believe that this notion of being a migrant, and I think all artists are to a certain extent, and probably we all are.
Solo for Two, I think it's somehow touching the idea of fear. Is it really valid, this fear of losing something?